for the next 4 years.
May Ann Manzano Guerzon in Sicklerville, New Jersey.
Joe Biden wins New Jersey in 2020 presidential election.
Myla Simbulan in Swarthmore, Pennsylvania.
Counting of mail-in ballots in Pennsylvania continues.
We have Julian Fiesta in Delano, California.
2020 election, record turnout of young voters.
Mike Hudson in Everett, Washington.
Washington State schools push in-person learning to February 2021.
Philip Toledo in Atlanta, Georgia.
Atlanta aids legacy residents with anti-displacement tax fund.
And Don Omar Cuevas in Little Rock with several stories from the natural state Arkansas. Stay tuned for those. Plus, for our virtual roundtable discussion, tonight for National Stress Awareness Day, we chat about ways we prevent and relieve stress. Our coverage begins now. First, an overview of today's COVID-19 numbers. According to the Coronavirus Resource Center of Johns Hopkins University in Medicine, as of 6 p.m. Eastern Time Tuesday, November 4, 2020, the number of cases of COVID-19 reported worldwide is now more than 47,900,000. Top 3 on the list of countries with recorded cases: US, 9.4 million, India, 8.3 million, Brazil, 5.5 million. Sadly, more than 1,200,000 have succumbed to this virus. Top 3 countries with the most number of COVID-19 related deaths are US with more than 233,000, Brazil more than 160,000, India has more than 123,000. Democratic presidential challenger Joe Biden today neared the magic number of 270 electoral votes needed to win the White House, with several battleground states still in play, as incumbent President Donald Trump challenged the vote count. As it stands, there are 5 states still left uncalled, including major prizes such as Pennsylvania and key small state Nevada, meaning both Trump and Biden still have a path to victory. U.S. media outlets have projected wins for the Republican incumbent in 23 states, including big prizes Florida and Texas, as well as Indiana, Kentucky, Missouri, and Ohio, all states he won in 2016. Biden has captured 22 states, including his home state, Delaware, and big prizes California and New York, as well as the U.S. Capitol. The former vice president has flipped 3 states won by Trump in 2016: Arizona, Michigan, and Wisconsin. Nebraska split its electoral votes between the two, 4 for Trump and 1 for Biden. Maine was won by Biden, but he seized only 3 of the 4 electoral votes on offer, with the last allocated to Trump. So far, that gives Biden 264 electoral votes and Trump with 214. The magic number of electoral votes is 270. If Biden were to win in Nevada, he would, in theory, have the necessary 270. The following is a list of the states won by each candidate and the corresponding number of electoral votes, based on the projections of U.S. media, including CNN, Fox News, MSNBC, NBC News, ABC, CBS, and the New York Times. In the case of Arizona, AFP used the projection made by the Associated Press. As of press time, Trump with 214 and Biden 264. The states taken by Trump are Alabama, Arkansas, Florida, Idaho, Indiana, Iowa, Kansas, Kentucky, Louisiana, Maine, Mississippi, Missouri, Montana, Nebraska, North Dakota, Ohio, Oklahoma, South Carolina, South Dakota, Tennessee, Texas, Utah, West Virginia, and Wyoming. States taken by Biden with 264 electoral votes: Arizona, California, Colorado, Connecticut, Delaware, District of Columbia, Hawaii, Illinois, Maine, Maryland, Massachusetts, Michigan, Minnesota, Nebraska, New Hampshire, New Jersey, New Mexico, New York, Oregon, Rhode Island, Vermont, Virginia, Washington, and Wisconsin. States that are not yet called: Alaska, Georgia, Nevada, North Carolina, and Pennsylvania. Georgia's Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger says authorities will conduct a statewide audit to verify the election results in the state. Let's take a look.
This is the first time we're doing a statewide audit. And so what that will really give you, first of all, we have, I think, a higher confidence of voters. I know there's a lot of information out there, a lot of misinformation out there, and some of it's just lack of knowledge, and we understand that. And that's why the risk limiting audit, what that will do, will verify results. So if there's a race that was, say, reported a 51-49, when we do the audit, then we can verify what the result is. By Friday, November 13th, we then will have the certification. So nothing is certified until after we do the risk limiting audit. If there's a race that was in 0.5%, it is your right as the candidate that is close but not over the top that you could ask for a recount.
Hurricane Eta slowed to tropical storm speeds on Wednesday morning, even as it pummeled Nicaragua, killing 2 people there and 1 in neighboring Honduras, while unleashing fierce winds and heavy downpours. The storm had hammered impoverished indigenous communities along the coast when it made landfall a day earlier and caused heavy rains throughout much of Central America. Eta uprooted trees and ripped roofs off homes in Bilwi, the biggest town in the south and the northeastern coast, and also known as Puerto Cabezas. Winds tore down the concrete perimeter walls of the town's baseball stadium and left a trail of fallen trees as dazed cattle and other animals wandered through the streets. 2 Nicaraguans died after they were buried in a landslide while working in a mine in the municipality of Bonanza, the director of the local Red Cross, Eleanor Garcia, told Channel 10 television. Authorities in Honduras said a child died in a collapsed house there, bringing the death toll in the region to 3 so far. National Hurricane Center warned the effects of Eta could be catastrophic for the region, but it said the storm's winds had slowed to 70 miles per hour on Wednesday morning, about half the speed at which Eta made landfall. The storm is forecast to continue moving inland over northern Nicaragua and central Honduras Wednesday and into Thursday. When we come back, updates from our Eagle News correspondents in Edmonton, Alberta, Sicklerville, New Jersey. This is Eagle News America. Stay with us.
It says the best defense is still containment.
We are in uncharted territory.
Final volume 450. FI on to 100%. Traffic ban. Construction.
Wow!
You are a breath of fresh air.
Boses pa lang, I am very satisfied.
All package ka na. Tuloy-tuloy pa rin po ang ating paghahanap ng pinakamagagaling na singing artist. 2 na po ang nakaabang sa ating quarterfinals and only 1 spot remains para sa bubuo na magtatagisan sa semifinals. Ang papasok sa ating single ay walang iba kundi si
Events happen around us all the time, in our community, in our country, around the world. Events that affect people, move communities, or simply inspire us. Interesting events that people need to know. In these interesting times, we continue to be a competent partner in delivering news about these events. Fast, accurate, balanced. Eagle News, because we live in interesting times.
Innovation, digital disruption, globalization. Startups, micro, small, and medium enterprises, as well as large corporations, all face interesting challenges in the market today. Peek into the world of exciting opportunities and partnerships to drive growth with the latest business news and information. We are open for business. Join the conversations to create a more vibrant environment for entrepreneurship. Catch Open for Business every Saturday from 5 to 6 p.m. Open for Business, from vision to action.
Turuan din natin ang mga bata ng tamang paghugas ng mga kamay. Basain ang kamay ng tubig at lagyan ng sabon. Kuskusin ang iyong mga palad. Gayon din ang pagitan ng mga daliri. Pati na ang likod ng mga palad at daliri. Ganon din ang iyong hinlalaki, kasama ang mga dulo ng iyong mga daliri. Pagkatapos ay iyong palapulsuhan. Gawin ito ng kahit 20 segundo. Pagkatapos ay banlawan ng tubig at patuyuin.
Hi everyone! Net25 Kids is inviting you to EBC Webinars 2020. A series of educational and informative webinars for teachers and parents, which will be live-streamed via Net25 Kids' YouTube page. We will be featuring several guest speakers with years of experience to share information that would be valuable and helpful for teachers and parents as they educate and manage their children in these interesting times. Hope you will join us! For updates, schedules, and more information, please follow the Net25 Kids Facebook page.
paper at tissue boxes mo. Hindi mo ba alam, mauubos daw ang mga tissue products? Bakit naman? Ang raw materials daw ng mask at tissue products ay iisa lang. Saan naman galing ang balitang yan? Ay basta, narinig ko lang din. Maraming diling kayang nagpo-post sa Facebook at Twitter, kaya kung ako sa'yo, kumuha ka na din. Sige na't mauna na ako sa'yo
Huwag basta-basta magpaniwala
sa mga nakikita
o nababasa sa social media.
Magsaliksik at i-verify ang lahat ng impormasyon
Nakukuha sa internet.
Tandaan,
Maging responsable tayo
sa paggamit ng social media
nang hindi magdulot ng panic sa iba.
kung paanong dapat labanan ng COVID-19.
Ay gayon din ang ating pagsugpo.
sa black propaganda
At maling impormasyon.
Dennis Lu,
Lou Omelda,
Luigian Alpartosa,
Tyranel Pililu.
Hannibal Arevalo,
EBC,
Japan,
Euro,
we live in interesting times.
The search for the best continues. Tagisan ng Galing Part 2 is now accepting audition entries. If you are 21 to 59 years old and have what it takes to be the next Tagisan ng Galing Grand Winner as a solo performer, duet, trio, band, or grouped act, submit your audition entries now. Just follow these guidelines. To submit audition entries for the singing category, contact Nikki at 0977-651-9504. This is your chance to be Tagisan ng Galing's grand winner and win 2 million pesos. For more details and updates, visit and like the Tagisan ng Galing Facebook page. What are you waiting for? Join now!
You are watching Eagle News America. I'm Ace Ramirez in Washington, D.C. Like the rest of the world, Canada waits to find out who will be living in the White House for the next 4 years. In Edmonton, Bureau Chief Thomas Likeness joins us.
Thank you, Ace. Well, the voting is over. We await the results. And sometimes, we follow this election more closely than our own. That's right. Tens of thousands of Canadians last night glued to American news feeds, waiting to find out who will be the next American president. Why is that? Why does that capture our interest so much? Well, living next door to the superpower of the West, we can't help but be affected by what happens south of our common border. So is it Donald Trump or Joe Biden, or does it make much of a difference? With Trump, we can expect more of the same. The chaos, the impetuous moves to block trade, the tariffs on Canadian goods going south. But on the positive side, it might be better for our energy industry because, as you know, Trump is not noted for leaning toward the green movement. But what about Joe Biden? Well, he's a Democrat, and historically, Democrat presidents have been more protectionist than Republicans when it comes to trade, although that vanished under Trump. Some days he's more protectionist than any Democrat. So on the trade issue, it probably really doesn't matter who is in the White House. We'll just have to accommodate. The energy issue, well, Biden's green agenda will likely be moderated, and that's because the Senate is still controlled by the Republicans, so it'll be difficult to pass legislation that'll penalize energy producers or cancel projects such as the XL pipeline in the Midwest. And that's one project that Biden had said he might cancel, but likely, again, that could be, his stance may be moderated because of the influence of the Senate. Earlier today, Prime Minister Trudeau told reporters that his government is watching the election closely, but he wouldn't comment on any of the uncertainty surrounding it. In Parliament, he said his government will defend Canadian interests no matter who is elected. Trudeau has stayed neutral all throughout this election. We also hear that many Americans are considering moving to Canada if they don't like the final result. Well, we heard the same thing 4 years ago. A lot of people looked into it. Few called the moving company. While we wait for the last of the votes to be counted, I wish you all good health. Remember to take care of others and take care of yourselves. Stay home, stay safe, and stay tuned to Eagle News for accurate and balanced coverage of the COVID-19 pandemic and other current affairs. In Edmonton, Canada, Thomas I. Likeness, Eagle News. We live in interesting times. Back to you, Ace.
Tom, before we let you go, is this uncertainty really affecting the economy of Canada?
Well, in the short term, yes, we'll feel some effects because businesses, the stock market, they don't like chaos. They don't like insecurity. Business people want to be able to plan based on who's going to be living in the White House for the next 4 years. So if there is uncertainty for several weeks, it's not good, although hopefully this is cleared up in a matter of days.
And having said that, do you think people will consider migrating to Canada as a result of the election?
I think a lot of people will look into it. A lot of people talk about it, but when it comes down to making that decision, probably not. You know, moving to another country, that's a major lifestyle change. I've done it. I moved to the United States, too many decades ago, and then had to move back. So when you change countries, it's not like just buying another house on the other side of the city. First there's also the immigration issue you're going to have to deal with. You have to find an employer that's willing to take you on. And in this economy, that's not going to be easy. And can a person even afford to make that move? This is, again, not moving across town. It's a move across the continent. There's personal issues as well. You're leaving behind family and friends. It's just not easy. The pandemic, that's going to complicate things as well. And remember, we have a great country here in Canada, but, our streets are not paved with gold. And we have problems here as well. So that geographic move may or may not solve a person's problems.
That is true. I agree. It's not like buying candy from a store. There's a lot of planning involved.
And even though we share a common language, there are a lot of cultural differences. And I got to say, when I moved to the U.S., this is back in the 70s, but it was a culture shock for the first 5 or 6 months, because people in different countries do things differently.
That's true. Migrating, it has its pros and cons, and it really needs deeper, studying of what's involved, what factors, and how it's going to affect not only you, not only your person, but your family as well.
Your family as well, and you have to be prepared to make changes. You have to be prepared to make compromises. And I think when it actually comes down to it, most people will look at it and say, I guess I'll live with what I got.
All right. Thank you so much, Thomas Likeness from Edmonton, Alberta.
Thank you, Ace, and you take care.
Democratic presidential candidate Joe Biden takes the state of New Jersey in this year's election. In Sicklerville, May Ann Manzano Guerzon.
Thank you, Ace. In a report released by New Jersey Herald as of 11:20 p.m. yesterday, November 3, the day of the election, former Vice President Joe Biden has won New Jersey in his bid to become the 46th President of the United States of America, according to the Associated Press. The victory by the Democratic president come as a little surprise, as New Jersey has not voted for a Republican presidential nominee since 1988. A Biden national victory over Republican President Donald Trump was uncertain because of widespread mail-in voting due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Votes in many states could take days to count. Even New Jersey's counts will take days to finalize under loosened restrictions by Governor Murphy. But Biden had enough returns on election night for the Associated Press to call the race in New Jersey in his favor soon after the polls closed at 8 p.m. He'll earn New Jersey's 14 electoral votes. Although Democrats were heavily favored to win, Republicans at least gave the presidential contest the appearance of being competitive. The Trump campaign and Republican state committee sued to stop New Jersey from counting ballots early and accepting ballots after Election Day, but a federal judge denied the attempt. During his decades in Congress, Biden became known as New Jersey's third senator because of his frequent visits. Murphy, a fellow Democrat, also has a relationship with Biden he could leverage for federal financial backing for the long-stalled Gateway Tunnel between New York and New Jersey. Meanwhile, here is today's statistical report of New Jersey's COVID-19 cases. According to the Department of Health of New Jersey, the state has 2,472 new positive cases, bringing a cumulative total to 245,257 New Jerseyans tested positive. Sadly, we have 9 new confirmed COVID-19 deaths, pushing the total to 14,591 lives lost. New Jersey remains on stage 2 of its road to recovery. To learn more, visit covid19.nj.gov. In Sicklerville, New Jersey, May and Manzano Garzon, Eagle News, we live in interesting times. Back to you, Ace.
Ma'am, we know that New Jersey is known to be a blue state, as you mentioned in your report. But for general information, not to shun the counties, which of the counties there in New Jersey were not in favor of Joe?
Well, sure is. Well, out of the 21 counties here in New Jersey, only 5 counties, which are Sussex, Warren, Ocean, Salem, and Cape May, had the majority of votes in favor of the Republican President Trump. And the other 16 counties, Ace, were all in favor of the Democrats. Ace?
Thank you so much. Mayan Manzano Garzon from Sicklerville, New Jersey. When we come back, reports from Swarthmore, Pennsylvania, Delano, California, Everett, Washington, and Atlanta, Georgia. News America will return in a moment. Stay with us.
Hello there. Imagine Demi got the virus, and she infected 2 more. And those 2 infected a lot more of people. And it goes on and on until it became an epidemic. But what if Demi stayed at home? Then those 2 wouldn't have contracted the virus. Then those people would have not been infected. This is not just your battle, it's everyone's, and you can be a huge help. Follow social distancing, or better yet, stay at home.
It says the best defense is still containment.
We are in uncharted territory.
Final volume 450. If I want to 100%. Standing by. Construction.
Innovation, digital disruption, globalization. Startups, micro, small, and medium enterprises, as well as large corporations, all face interesting challenges in the market today. Peek into the world of exciting opportunities and partnerships to drive growth with the latest business news and information. We are open for business. Join the conversations to create a more vibrant environment for entrepreneurship. Catch Open for Business every Saturday from 5 to 6 p.m. Open for Business, from vision to action.
Hey there, Arnie Aquino here at Hatley Castle, one of the filming locations for the X-Men series. Don't forget to tune in to Digital Nest only on Net25.
Wow!
You are a breath of fresh air.
Boses pa lang, I am very satisfied.
All package ka na. Tuloy-tuloy pa rin po ang ating paghahanap ng pinakamagagaling na singing artist. Dalawa na po ang nakaabang sa ating quarterfinals and only one spot remains para sa bubuo na magtatagisan sa semifinals. Ang papasok sa ating single ay walang iba kundi si
In the battleground state of Pennsylvania, the counting of mail-in ballots continues. In Swarthmore, Bureau Chief Mila Simbulan reports.
Thanks, Ace. The day after Election Day and the counting of mail-in ballots in Pennsylvania continues. Due to the overwhelming number of mail-in ballots, 10 times more than the 2016 and 2012 election, more time is needed. Here's Pennsylvania's Secretary of State to tell us more. Take a look.
We are exactly where we said we would be. So we said it was going to take some time to count the mail ballots, and we are approaching 50% of the mail ballots counted, which is great. As you know, you can go to our Election Night Returns website and the supplemental dashboard to get the greater details on that. But there are still millions of ballots left to be counted. So the counties are working incredibly hard. You're going to see a lot of updates in the next couple of hours and throughout the day. We have been, there were a number of counties that made some major additions in the wee hours in the morning. So if you checked kind of early on this morning, you may want to check again because there's already been more ballots accounted for on our dashboard.
As of 2:35 p.m. today, there's about 1 million mail-in ballots still needed to be casted and entered to the statewide Uniform Registry of Electors, or SURE, and that's about 58% counted, in addition to about 92% ballots casted in the precincts on Election Day, or those we call in-person voters. People are now anxious and some are overwhelmed because we are not sure when counting will end. That's why Governor of Pennsylvania is urging Pennsylvanians to remain calm and stay united on the days ahead. The word of the day today is patience. In Swarthmore, Pennsylvania, Mila Simbulan, Eagle News, we live in interesting times. Back to you, Ace.
Mila, patience aside, when do you think counting of the ballots will end in Pennsylvania?
So Ace, in Philadelphia alone, that has about, right now they're looking into midday, right? The count midday is 200,000 more ballots. So poll officials are looking into Thursday morning, but Pennsylvania as a whole, I think about Friday morning or end of the day Friday. Ace?
Friday morning. Okay, well, patience is a virtue.
That's right.
All right, thank you so much, Mila Simbulan from Swarthmore, Pennsylvania.
Thanks, Ace.
Adding to the already overwhelming participation young voters had in early voting and mail-in ballots, a record-breaking number of young voters headed to the polls yesterday, another of the many unprecedented things surrounding the presidential election. In Delano, Julianne Fiesta is with us tonight for more.
Thank you, Ace. In this 2020 presidential election, a record number of young voters made their way to the voting polls or dropped off their ballots. Among these young voters include millennials who were born between 1985 and 1995, and Gen Zers who were born in and after 1996. Many first-time voters participated in this election, eager to have a voice in the decisions on laws and propositions that would change and shape the future of our nation for years to come. Let's hear from one first-time voter on what he has to say about his voting experience. Let's take a look.
I was really excited to vote this year because there's a lot of decisions that we have to make that really affect the future of how this nation is shaped. And also there's lots of leaders that I was very interested in voting in because I feel like now the main narrative is promoting unity among us and being able to be united in certain causes. And this is overall it's a really great experience to vote because now we're just making the country is making more changes for us. I think it's very important because the decisions through the propositions and the leaders that we're making now will potentially affect us for the many next decades to come. For example, some propositions are related to putting schools and communities first. Some are dedicated to lowering or raising our taxes, or even putting affirmative action back into our schools, which I believe is what we need in order to advance this. I feel like I'm gonna be on my phone a lot, just checking every update because it's so crucial to know what's going on. But I have hope that the decisions that we make will be for the good of our country.
As for the election update by the Los Angeles County Registrar, Recorder/County Clerk's Office, there were 5,709,853 voters who registered in the county with 2,555,605 vote-by-mail ballots and 826,938 vote center ballots counted so far. More updates to be given in the coming days. With all the unprecedented events that have occurred in 2020 alone, it has shown us Americans the important role our government has in our lives, prompting many to make it a point to cast their votes and have their voices heard. In Delano, California, Julian Fiesta, Eagle News, we live in interesting times. Ace.
Julian, speaking of young voters and propositions, there was a proposition on the ballot to lower the voting age in California. Do you have any updates on that?
So you're talking about Proposition 18, which if passed would allow 17-year-olds who will be 18 at the time of the next general election to vote in primary elections and special elections. Ballots are still being tallied, so we're currently waiting to hear the results. Some proponents of the proposition maintain that passing Prop 18 would encourage young voters to continue to vote in future elections. However, others argue that teens are still developing mentally and emotionally, and that taking part in election at too young an age would be a mistake. Ace?
I kind of agree with that. If 17-year-olds can't even decide on what's for dinner or what's for lunch, how are they going to decide for the future of the country? Well, it's not that I'm putting down the 17-year-olds, but just my opinion. What do you think?
I think actually a lot of younger people these days are very educated in what they want to know, because the future, it really is truly their future. So they want a big part in what they're going to be a part of later on.
That's true. That's true. It's also interesting to note, maybe look into the data. What's the percentage of 17-year-olds in the country? Maybe this will affect, and what part of 17-year-olds are blue and red? Who thought about this?
That's also very true.
Some ideas. Well, thank you so much for your report, Julianne from Delano, California.
Thank you.
Despite the coronavirus not backing down, schools in the state of Washington push to move in-person learning, and many parents are not happy about it. In Everett, Eagle News correspondent Michael Hudson. Mike, I think your mic is muted.
Hi, can you hear me now? Can you hear me
There
now?
you go. That's better.
There we go. Sorry about that. Thanks, Ace. So the biggest story right now in our state is the school's decision in pushing back in-person learning to at least February of next year. So there was a recent vote for this push due to the increasing number of COVID-19 cases in the state. And as you can probably guess already, this has caused a lot of anger and frustration for many families, which have confronted the schools districts superintendents across the state. And so it's been stated that the school districts are doing all they can to bring the students back sooner than the proposed February date. And I quote, "There were some teachers very concerned, others very anxious to get back in schools, but then the virus count started going back up again, and that's been very frustrating," said Ron Teal, Issaquah School District Superintendent. So I can only imagine the mixed feelings and emotions that have come across all these families with this recent decision. You know, I had coffee with a father of an 18-year-old high school senior today, and during a business meeting, and he told me, you know, she was just so devastated and sad that she wouldn't be able to have the same school year as a typical high school senior because you know, of what's happening right now. So she wouldn't be able to experience the sports that she's playing, senior prom, and even graduation. And the father also told me that the school that she goes to has a lot of great athletes. And so, you know, going from the junior to senior year, usually their senior year is kind of the money-making year in which they can really get attention from other scouts. And so now they're not going to have that opportunity, especially for the fall sports such as football and soccer. So for the time being, virtual learning continues as the educational groups throughout the state try to come up with a solution that will enable the students to attend schools in person while obviously minimizing risk of exposure to COVID-19. As of right now, the state of Washington has 116,000 positive cases and 2,510 deaths. Reporting from Everett, Washington, Michael Hudson, Eagle News. We live in interesting times. Back to you, Ace.
Michael, it's true. You mentioned the students. The kids are missing a lot. You know, from last graduation, they were not able to attend any ceremony because of this COVID, because of this pandemic. But it's a question, just like what we discussed a couple of weeks ago. What comes first, the chicken or the egg? Is it health or education? What do you think?
I mean, if you're asking my opinion, I think health is always going to be the number one thing because, I mean, let's be honest, we only have one life to live, right? I think that the beauty of technology is that, you know, all of us, it's growing and we can adapt to it. I think it's easier to adapt to education as opposed to health, especially right now when we don't really know the severity, or we do know the severity of the virus, but we just don't know how long it's going to last in our communities. So, you know, to answer your question, I think health is always going to be the number one thing.
That's true. I agree. Thank you so much, Mike Hudson from Washington State.
Appreciate it.
The city of Atlanta aids legacy residents with an anti-displacement tax fund. In Atlanta, Bureau Chief Philip Toledo tells us all about it.
Thanks, Ace. So let's take a little bit of a break from all of the election news and talk about something that happened a little bit earlier this week. Atlanta Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms announced a citywide anti-displacement program for legacy residents. This is basically to help residents at risk of being displaced due to rising property tax costs. So just as an example, there might be an older area, a new investor comes in and starts to build in new shops, new condos, high rises, and then all of a sudden the property values go up and so do the property taxes. And that as a result, people can't afford to live there anymore, even though they may have lived there for several years. Now, the mayor issued an administrative order for the chief operating officer of the city to develop an agreement with Invest Atlanta to make a plan to use $4.6 million of the Gulch Housing Trust Fund to help offset these rising property taxes. She said in the statement, quote, "Legacy residents deserve every opportunity to remain in their homes and the communities they helped build." Now, the Gulch is an area of the city of Atlanta that has been of great focus over the last few years, as it's in a prime spot right in the middle of everything, but it hasn't been developed just yet. So the mayor's press release outlined other negotiated community investments that were part of this Gulch agreement, such as a $28 million investment into affordable housing fund for the entire city, a minimum required number of affordable housing units when they're developing this area, as well as investments into workforce training and a citywide economic fund, and also a commitment to a minimum number of minority and female-owned businesses, which has also been a key point as they've been developing this particular area, as well as $12 million for a brand new fire station. Now, longtime residents of this city will hopefully draw comfort from this, because there have been many other parts of Atlanta where, just a few years ago, you had a lot of people who'd been living there for several years, and then now they've become the new hip, developed places to live. But then again, as the property values go up, so do the property taxes, and many people just can't afford, their house may be paid off, but they can't afford to pay the taxes on a yearly basis. Now, we can't escape it, Ace. We got to talk a little bit about the election. Just within the last couple of hours, I saw on the official Twitter account of the Georgia Republican Party that they're filing a lawsuit here in the state in Chatham County because an observer allegedly saw an unidentifiable woman mixing some ballots into a stack of absentee ballots. And what's key here is the allegation is that there could be ballots that were received after 7 p.m. yesterday, which is when the polls closed, which is not allowed by law. So we'll see how that plays out. I know a lot of the other correspondents have mentioned similar things happening in their states, especially as we try to get to the end result of this election. I know many of us Georgians, we're having flashbacks to 2018 and the governor election here, where the two candidates had dragged out for several weeks trying to figure out exactly how many votes each party had. So we'll just have to see how long it takes, but we're definitely bracing for the long haul. In Atlanta, Georgia, I'm Philip Toledo, Eagle News. We live in interesting times. Back to you, Ace.
That's very interesting that you talked about that UWW, the unidentified walking woman, carrying what? Ballots? Where was it? In a bag, in a plastic bag, or?
The tweet was only limited to 140 characters, so they didn't give all the evidence there. But it's going to be interesting to see just how this plays out, because I've heard that we could be seeing this kind of play out over, especially as Georgia and other states have a lot of absentee ballots to still count. We're going to see all sides, I think, questioning the accuracy of everything.
I bet. Well, going back to your report, can you describe a little more what those revitalization projects look like?
Yeah, so just as an example, in the middle of the city, there's an old Sears and Roebuck warehouse building. It used to be next to the old baseball diamond way before the Atlanta Braves were even a team. So, this was back, several years ago. And after, there's a lot of people listening that maybe it was their first election to vote, and they've never heard of Sears and Roebuck. And so this building sat abandoned for many years. But then now, a couple of years later, a developer has come in, and it's like one of the hip places to go. The bottom floor has got a bunch of, small trendy restaurants, and then some of your more boutique style shops are all around. And then at the very top is they call it an adult amusement park, where it's a restaurant and there's mini golf and, kind of parlor type games, and then expensive condos and apartments all around. And so, just an example, and that's called Pond City Market. If there may be a Digital Nest special on it, somewhere floating out there. But it's a very trendy place to live right now, where several years ago, it was really underdeveloped and empty. And so you're seeing a lot of different places like that in the city that are being developed. And so that's why the mayor really wanted to enact this displacement fund, because there's people who've been living there, building the community that will just get displaced by these, multi-million-dollar, townhomes and condos that are being put up.
Right. And the very reason why property values are shooting up. Thank you so much, Philip Toledo, Atlanta, Georgia.
Thank you, Ace.
This just in, more than 99,000 coronavirus cases were recorded in the United States in the past 24 hours. New daily record, according to a tally by Johns Hopkins. The country reported 99,660 new infections between 8:30 p.m. Tuesday and 8:30 p.m. Wednesday, 1,112 deaths. This tally by the Baltimore-based poll showed a day after the nation edited the polls on election day. Coming up, stories from Little Rock, Arkansas, plus a virtual roundtable discussion about how we prevent and manage our stress. That's for National Stress Awareness. This is Eagle News America. Stay with us.
Hey everyone! I'm Nikki Pacal Arsena. Abangan niyo po ako and the rest of the Barkada and your favorite OPM artists on Letters and Music. Prime time na! Mula Monday to Friday, 8 p.m. only on Net 25. See you!
You are watching Eagle News America. I'm Ace Ramirez, Washington, D.C. We have several stories tonight from Arkansas. President Trump wins the natural state. Coronavirus cases exceed 105,000. And some tourist tips from Governor Asa Hutchinson for the fall season. Eagle News correspondent Don Omar Cuevas finds this.
Thanks for having me. Hello from Little Rock. In the midst of this year's presidential election, the state of Arkansas has voted Republican, with over 60% of the state's voters supporting our current president, Donald Trump, according to data compiled by the Associated Press. In other news, the Arkansas Department of Health announced on Tuesday that COVID-19 cases have now exceeded 105,000, with over 95,000 recoveries and almost 2,000 deaths. With winter just around the corner, Governor Asa Hutchinson has announced a layered plan to deal with the virus during the cold season. The plan involves continued testing of a percentage of the population every month, contact tracing, quarantining, and working towards the distribution of a COVID-19 vaccine. In addition, the governor emphasized the importance of getting a flu shot as flu season draws closer. He stated that in order to be successful in this plan, the people of Arkansas have to work together. Meanwhile, for those who love nature, Arkansas has many scenic locations to enjoy the season of autumn. In his weekly address last Friday, Governor Hutchinson discussed several places to take in the fall scenery, such as the Crowley's Ridge Parkway National Scenic Byway and the Bayou Bartholomew Water Trail. He stated that they're worth a visit in this time of year to enjoy the bright colors of autumn. In his words, the choices for autumn adventure are many. I hope you can find a moment to enjoy Arkansas. I hope you're staying safe and healthy in your part of the country. From Little Rock, Arkansas, Don Omar Cuevas, Eagle News. We live in interesting times. Stay safe out there. Back to you in the studio.
Thank you, Don Omar. According to the WebMD.com, the number one stress trigger is work. What causes work stress? Heavy workload, discrimination or harassment at work, or being unsatisfied with what you do. Other stress triggers are life and personal stress. Although getting stressed or experiencing stress can be part of life, it is important that it has dangerous effects on our health. According to Healthline.com, these are just a few of the dangers that stress poses on our physical well-being. Heartburn, depression, high blood pressure, high blood sugar, everything that's high, muscle tension, stomach ache. Today, November 4, is National Stress Awareness Day. And for our virtual roundtable discussion, let's ask our team, how do you prevent yourselves from getting stressed? Or if you are already under it, how do you relieve it? Fair game. Well, the guys versus the ladies. The ladies first. The ladies will go first. We'll partner Mike with Julian, Philip with Myla, and Tom with May Ann. Okay, so the ladies will name a type of stress or what causes stress, and then the guys will do a suggestion. How do you relieve that type of stress? Let's start with Julianne. Julianne.
Okay, so one normal thing that Ace did say was work. So what is one way that you relieve stress from work?
Mike.
Oh man, that's easy, Julianne. You go home, you fill up your tub with nice hot water, soak in it, put some little crystals in there, put some candles around, and just relax.
Bubble bath. Okay, it's your turn, Mike. Give me a type of stress, or what causes stress?
I would say for stress, it would be, let's say I have like a huge exam that I've been studying for, and I'm just so nervous about it.
Okay, Julianne.
Well, things that I did when I was in college, when I had really big exams, I would take some time back. Just if I've been studying and I know that I have it down, there's no use to keep cramming, keep stressing myself out. So I take a step back. I do something that I enjoy, whether it just be watching Netflix or hang out with friends, and just take a minute to myself to calm down because I am ready for that exam.
There you go. Relax and just hum. Let's go. Philip and Myla. Philip, okay. Give me a type of stress.
So now it's my turn to go first.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I don't yet have a teenager, but I just seeing teenagers out and about, which I guess is a sign that I'm getting older. I can imagine raising a teenager would be very stressful. So, Myla, how do you deal with that?
It's a very good one, Philip. So, how do I deal with a teenager? But my teenager she's good. She's 15, but I don't really have a headache. But there are some situations where I'm gonna be stressed. So what I do is to relieve myself with the stress, I pick a movie to watch, a chick flick usually, a very light one. I don't want anything suspense because that will add to my stress. And I will have my ice cream with me and another salty snack. So that's my stress reliever.
That's a good idea.
How about you, Philip? I'll give you a scenario, Philip, okay? So let's say you and your beautiful wife have to go somewhere, and it takes a while for her to prepare, and you're already late. So I know my husband will be stressed at that point. So how are you going to deal with that type of situation?
Is there some truth to that part where it takes a little while to get ready?
Well,
you can answer that, Ace.
Well, I was just going to say it's funny that you asked that because since we're on live TV here, I have to be honest and say that in my house, my wife would tell you that the roles are reversed there, where she's waiting on me, just because. One of my stress relievers is just, is similar to what Mike was saying, just kind of relaxing when you're, in the shower, you got the hot water, and it's just a quiet spot to think and reflect. And, sometimes I get lost in my mind. But hypothetically speaking, if I was waiting on my wife, I would just remind myself of how beautiful she is and how grateful I am that she's in my life. And even if we're waiting, we're still together. And that's just something to be thankful for.
I like that.
Hey, you must be in big trouble to be saying all that.
That's what you call poggy points.
That was a good answer.
Good answer. Let's go to Mayanne. Mayanne, okay. Name a type of stress. What causes stress for you?
Well, Ace, I'm in a minimalism journey since 2017. So clutter really stresses me out, like eyesores. It's really giving me anxiety. So my little one has a very minimal toys. We try to maintain like minimal stuff in the house and clothes. We try to declutter regularly and stuff like that. So when things get piled up and I see clutters in the house, that really gives me anxiety. So, Thomas, what's the advice for things like that?
My goodness! I first of all, I missed the first part of it of what you said.
Clutter.
I didn't hear it.
Clutter causes stress
clutter?
for Mila. For man.
Yeah. I'm a bit of a neat freak. I like my desk cleaned and yeah. It's.
I kind of agree with that.
I just keep things organized.
Right.
I know where everything is. When I go to bed at night, I put my ring in the same place every night, my watch in the same place. I'm never looking for my glasses. You know?
Where's your glasses right now, Tom? Oh, you have it on. Okay. All right, it's your turn. It's your turn. What type of stress?
I guess I actually, in terms of personal stress, time is a big thing for me because I lived by a clock so much of my life when I was in network broadcasting. So I can't stand to be late. As a matter of fact, I'm always early.
Okay, managing time. Mayan, what can you say about? I'm sure you have a lot of experience managing time.
Well, Ace, for Thomas, I know that he loves coffee. For when you are stressing over time, Thomas, I'll just suggest that you get a cup of your favorite black coffee, right?
That would do it. But I'm still looking at my watch. I'm even watching the countdown clock here.
Great discussion tonight. Thank you so much for your participation. Those are great ideas and good examples of types of things that causes stress and how to deal with them. Well, aside from those suggestions, here are some ways, according to health.com, to get rid of stress. Meditation, ample rest, enough sleep, deep breathing. Have you ever tried that? You know, when you're angry, just deep breathing. Do some deep breathing, and then it relaxes everything. It lowers your heart rate. Nature walking, that's another way to get rid of stress. Cleaning up space, there you go. Decluttering, and light exercise. Mike, I'm pretty sure you're pretty familiar with this. When you're angry, just pump that iron, right? Or shoot some hoops. Setting work-life boundaries, or just even talking to friends. And to lighten the stress of these very important people in our society today, we continue to thank our healthcare workers, first responders, and essential workers with a round of applause. We do appreciate you. Before we go, I would like to greet my friend Joy Faustina Joyous Meals. A very happy birthday. Happy birthday, mate. That is today's Eagle News America. Thank you for joining us. I'm Ace Ramirez. We live in interesting times.